During the time when you were hanging out, that was like in the 80s and 90s. How would you compare the West Coast Asian gangs and the East Coast?
West Coast is so different. They're so different from us over there.
Very different.
The Asian gangs over there, they intermingle with every other gangs. Like, they'll fuck with the Mexican Mafia, they'll fuck with the Bloods, they'll fuck with the Crips. Like, they don't just stay in their own community. Like, they just like all the other gangs out there. In New York, it was never like that. Like, we stayed within our own circle, in our own community.
It's so close to every other ethnic group.
Yeah. Like the Asian gangs out west, I seen black people in it, I seen white people in it. You know, like they.
And you rarely see that in the East Coast over here in New York City's Chinatown.
Well, I seen like two.
Very rare.
Very rare.
Very
and
rare.
they speak Chinese.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason they was in, because they spoke Chinese. They grew up in Chinatown or whatever, or they came from China, from school, but they spoke Chinese.
And the 70s and 80s, you need to speak Chinese in order to feel accepted by them. Otherwise, you're like an outsider. That's why like the Vietnamese, they branched off. The ABC, American-born Chinese, who don't speak Cantonese that well, they like treat like an outsider. You know, they can't get into that inner circle.
That's why they came to Bayard.
And look at the Korean. Before, the Flying Dragons had Koreans, and then later on, they just left and became Korean Power.
Korean Power,
KP.
yeah, KP.
And they went to the Midtown.
Yeah, they went to Midtown. In K-Town.
Yeah.
They went to K-Town.
So that's why like the Vietnamese branched out and formed their own gang, BTK. And then even the Flying Dragons and the Ghost Shadow had their own faction, ABC faction also.
Yes, I was just about to tell you that. Like, my faction, I was Bayard. Bayard was mostly ABC. We all spoke English. My street was all FOB, and they spoke English, but not like us. So that's why the gongs, like our sponsors, like when they need to go places, they always pick us to go with them because we speak English. We could do a lot of things that a fob wouldn't be able to pass off doing. So that's where the animosity between my street and Bayard Street came from, because when the gongs took care of us, when we go out with them, they always pay us. So they always take care of us. And some of the my street guys was like, why they always take them? Blah, 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 blah. They never ask us, and we put in more work, and they did. My street, they put in more work than Bayard Street. They've fought the name out, Ghost Shadow out there for their generation. So, but they didn't really speak English. They was like fobs.
The Tongs actually had power over the gangs until the drugs came into the scene. Because think about it, Uncle Seven had power over the scientists, like had control. And then the Underworld Association had control over the Black Eagles and White Eagles until, you know, Nicky Louis' crew took over. And they still had a bit of control until Eddie Chan came into the power in the Underworld Tongue Association. And during that time, Kid Sai, he didn't really entertain the Tongue Association. I mean, they still got along, but they didn't respect the Tongue Association as much as before because of how he uses his money to get that position in the Tongue Association. I would say that by the time Onion Head got involved with the drugs, I don't think Uncle Seven had too much control over that, because now you're
making your own money.
You're making your own money. You're making so much money that the Tongue's not going to have any control over that.
I think that's one of the reasons why one of our rules was don't sell drugs.
Yeah.
Because drugs bring heat, drugs do this,
Exactly.
and they lose power when you're doing drugs.
Lose power. Like, think about it. If let's say like the Gambino, right, crime family, Castellano didn't want their people to doing drugs, but then now you got one set doing drugs, and now that set is making more money than ever. They're gonna feel more powerful than the boss himself.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be the downfall.
Because once there's a shift in power, that's when all the nasty emotions come out, envy, jealousy, and all those other non-good emotions. That's what happens when there's a shift in power.
And that's why I think the Tongs lost control over the gangs when the drugs came into play.
Yeah. But they couldn't control my street anyway, because those kids were so wild back then too.
The Tongs...
They were smoking crack on the streets. That's how wild it was. With the pipe.
The later generation.
Yeah.
I would say like during the time when the Black Eagles and White Eagles, the Tongs really had some sort of grip over them.
Oh yeah, I'm not talking about that generation. I'm talking my generation. Like my generation, they were smoking crack freebasing on the streets, and word came from up top saying, "Yo, they gotta stop that shit." But they kept doing it because they were so wild. They was fighting for the name. It's like you couldn't get rid of them because they was bringing recognition. So that's why they favored us more as well. Because then we realized that we don't need them. We don't need them. What are they doing for us?
But back then, if you're talking about the 70s and
No.
80s, Chinatown is just so close knit that they need the Tongs. Mm-hmm. Eventually, the kids realize, hey, we don't need you. We can go anywhere. We can go move it to any other state and still make it.
Yeah.
Because back then, there was only one Chinatown.
Yes.
Right? In the 70s, there was only one Chinatown. Where are you going to go? In New York. If you're going to leave Chinatown, how are you going to make it? You're going to go to the West Coast, San Francisco, Chinatown, or maybe, Boston.
Yeah, those were the closest. Those are the big Chinatowns.
And they don't speak English. A lot of those gang members back then, they don't speak English. They were new immigrants.
Majority of the gangs didn't really speak English because we preyed on the immigrants to join. So a lot of them didn't really speak English.
But by the time, the 80s came along, there were so many Chinatowns in New York City. You have Flushing, and then you have Avenue U. There's a big pocket of Chinese people over there. Then you have 86th Street now. It's almost like a Chinatown now over there. And then you have 8th Avenue in Sunset Park.
Yeah.
Multiple Chinatowns.
Yeah, that's where I kind of grew up at.
And then a lot of the kids, they speak English. They join the gang, so they don't need the Tongs. The Tongs have no power over them anymore.
Especially in Brooklyn, they don't even have an association over there. It was the Wild Wild West back then. Yeah. Like in the late 80s and early 90s, 8th Avenue was up for grabs. It was the Wild Wild West. Like business started to bloom, people started making money, and there was nobody telling you what to do. So,
Exactly.
There was a lot of road groups too,
Back then, the kids needed the Tongs because the Tong had the connections to everything.
Yeah.
Everything they need,
Lawyers, everything.
Lawyers.
They didn't really speak English, but they did. And if they didn't, they had translators that did.
Guns, they get the guns for them. They give them the location to extort from.
Yeah.
They open a gambling house and give them a place to protect.
And hang out.
A source of revenue, a place to hang out. So the Tongs work hand in hand with the gangs, but then eventually the gangs lost respect for the Tongs because now the gangs are doing their own thing and making more money when the drugs came in.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, what are you guys really doing for us back then? Like my generation at least. Kid Gore's generation might be a little bit different because they were still, but by the time my generation rolled around,
people don't know these things unless they're in the streets. Unless they're in the streets and they don't understand the dynamics of how these things operate between the Tongs, the triads, and the gangs.
Yeah. By the time my generation rolled around, that was slowly being phased out already, But like Kid Gore's generation, they was like heavy into respect for Tongs, for the triads, the gangs. Like there was a hierarchy.
Yeah.
By the time my generation came around, it was the Wild Wild West. There ain't no hierarchy. We don't care. Like especially after it was a wild era too. So people was getting shot, people was getting killed. Like we didn't know if we was gonna live the next day. So I don't want nobody telling me what to do. I might not even live past tomorrow. Like. So I don't know.
Like when you're in prison, didn't you ever get that you might catch more time doing, let's say you get challenged in prison and then you're going to catch another body in there or whatever, and these things come to mind?
I did catch a case in there, So I know they do that. But again, like I said, when you're so young-minded and immature, it's just another stripe on your thing. Like, that motherfucker get busy. He just caught another case. Like, the adulation from your peers in there, it can drive you to do stupid shit and forget about your goals, your long-term goals,
Over petty stuff too, right?
Petty stuff. Like, one of my biggest fights was over Bruce Lee. And I don't even know him. Like, we was in the day room, we was watching this movie called Death Warrant. This was like in 93. Death Warrant came out with Van Damme. So before the movie ended, it was locking time. So we all locked back in our cell, And our cells used to face each other. So we on the gate talking about the movie and shit like that. And this one dude was like, yeah, that motherfucker Van Damme is nice. He fuck anybody up. I see, yeah, he's nice, but he ain't fucking with Bruce. He's like, what, you crazy? So me and him started debating and started arguing. And next thing you know, the worst thing you can tell a man in prison is to suck your dick. Like, you're telling him you're not a man. You know, so suck my dick is fighting words, killing words, dying words, you know. He told me, he said, you can suck my dick, Bruce Lee can suck my dick, and the whole gallery got quiet. Everybody's listening to that shit. I said, see you tomorrow on the lockout. And all night long I couldn't sleep because I know what I'm gonna do to this dude. Like, you just challenged my manhood in front of the whole gallery. Like, in the morning time, he sent me a kite saying, yo, I let my emotions get the better of me, boom, boom, boom. Can we squash it, boom? Yeah, that shit ain't about nothing, that shit ain't about nothing. Once those cells open, ran right into the cell. The night before, I broke my locker, the locker door, made a shank. That's one of the cases I caught. So you could catch cases in there, you know. Stupid, it's very stupid in hindsight. But at the moment, I didn't think it was stupid.
I remember Peter Chin, Kids Eye, told me a story about what happened in prison. It was a triad member that he was with, and he was got his sneakers stolen from a Cuban guy.
I know who he is. I know the story.
Oh, you know the story?
Yeah.
What happened was the guy denied it, but there was a mark on a sneaker, right, that they put on the
Inside.
back. Yeah, so whatever he was able to identify it, the triad member took a cup of oil and put it in the microwave and heated it up and splashed on his face. So this guy's whole face like melted off, and he was sent to intensive care. This guy didn't have much time left to do, right? So, of course, you know, I guess he was charged for assault, whatever, and he did his remaining time, and he got released, sent to immigration, got deported to China. By the time he got deported to China, this guy died, so he got away with murder.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's lucky.
Because this guy was lingering in intensive care for a long time.
But it wasn't just over a pair of sneakers, though. It's the principle. He went into his cell and took his property. The fact that you have the audacity to go in there and take something, there ain't no talking after that.
Yeah.
There ain't no talking after that. And they're looked down upon. Sneak thieves are looked down upon in there. Because I tell them, only cowards are sneak thieves. If I want something from you, I'm going in your cell, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it from you. I'm not going to wait till you leave your cell and sneak in there and steal it. It's a coward move. So, you know, sneak thieves are frowned upon as well, you know.
The guy died over a pair of sneakers.
Over his greed.
Greed.
And from what I heard, it wasn't even a nice pair of sneakers. It was those.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's a different mindset in there. Like, sometimes you lose your way, you lose your humanity in there.
You know, you served time with my friend Sammy
Yes.
Kasaki. Sammy told me a story about that Italian mob guy, you know, gave him a pair of sneakers because when he went in, he had basically nothing. He was a kid, you know. He didn't have money, but this mob guy took care of him. So he never forget that. I think he mentioned that on my channel. One day I'll release it.
Oh, well, being that you bring up Sammy was one of them guys that really represented for Asians too. He represented for the Asian dudes in there. Like, he got everybody together. Like, he didn't have the same mentality as me about shunning other people. He accepted everybody and he took them all under his wing because Sammy could fight. Sammy gets busy with his hands, and when he was in there, he let it be known that he could fight. Like, he fought a lot. Early on in his bid, he fought a lot, and he made a name for himself. So, Sammy, you look at him, he looks short, but that motherfucker got busy. He's one of the guys in prison that I respect. He never changed. He didn't.
I even put in my book, this kid could fight.
He could fight.
Because it was in the 80s when me and him were play fighting inside the apartment in one of the safe house. He was smaller than me. I figured, you know, okay, let's go at it, right?
Yeah.
And he was doing these Thai kicks, kickboxing that back then you don't hear about this. Like, you don't even know what the hell Thai boxing is. It wasn't even popular. I'm like, couldn't even get near him. Like, he's doing these kicks Like you hear about karate,
Yeah.
Shotokan, all these different type of kung fu, but Thai boxing and the kicking that he was doing, like that was like unheard of, you know.
Yeah, it wasn't popular.
It wasn't popular.
And there was no schools. There was no
Yeah.
kickboxing schools back then. Yeah. But he was a barber in there as well, so people needed him. People needed him. So he was loved by everybody, every race, everybody. Like there's no animosity towards Sammy. Sammy, he could have been the ambassador of the Asian dudes in the jail that he was in, because he got along with everybody and he took all of them under his wing.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Good guy.
Stand-up guy.
Yeah. Me and him never was actually in the same jail together. But I was in this jail, he was in this jail, whatever. But I got bounced a lot because, I was, So every time I go to a new jail, they would ask me, yo, Sammy, little Sammy. And then, like, same thing with Sammy. When anybody goes to his jail, oh, Rich, boom, boom, boom. Like, that's how we knew of each other. So when we finally bumped heads in the streets, I was like, oh, you little Sammy. He said, oh, you Rich. So, and we just hit it off because he's heard so many stories about me and I've heard so many stories about him. Like, stories that came from reputable sources. So that's how we became friends. Like, we was never in the streets together and we never ended up in the same jail together. Because I did my whole time in the max. He had dropped down to a medium by the time I came up north, so we didn't get to. But that is how we met.